In February 1258, the sun rose over Baghdad, but the air was so choked with smoke it looked like night. The Tigris River didn't flow with water, it ran black with the ink of millions of destroyed books and red with the blood of the city's people. This map shows the sheer, terrifying scale of the Mongol Empire's conquests at the time. From the Great Wall of China to the snowy plains of Poland, whatever stood in their way was erased. The devastation was so absolute that many believed they were witnessing the end of the world. They identified the Mongols as the literal arrival of Gog and Magog, a supernatural force that made conventional military defense seem impossible. With Baghdad and Damascus gone, Cairo was the last remaining stronghold. If Egypt fell, the holiest sites in Islam, including Al-Masjid and Nabawi in Medina, would be completely defenseless against the Mongol war machine. The man ruling Egypt was Sultan Saif ad-Din Qutuz. He knew the Mongols intimately. Before he was a Mamluk, a slave king, he was a prince in the Khwarezmian Empire. He had watched the Mongols slaughter his family and destroy his cities before he was captured and sold in a Damascus slave market. Qutuz needed a commander, and he found one in Rukn al-Din Baibars. Baibars was a towering, fierce warrior, and the two men openly hated each other. But with death marching toward their borders, they put aside their feud. The Mongol ruler Hulagu Khan sent envoys to Cairo with a letter demanding absolute submission. It read, "If you do not obey, we will do that which no one knows except the eternal sky." Qutuz's response was brutal. He executed the 4 Mongol envoys and hung their severed heads right here on the Bab Zuwayla Gate in Cairo. Executing an envoy was an invitation to total annihilation. Qutuz did it on purpose. By committing an act the Mongols would never forgive, he closed all paths of negotiation. His army now knew there was no falling back. They either won or they died. On September 3, 1260, the Mamluk army marched to meet the Mongols at Ain Jalut. The name translates to the Spring of Goliath, the exact place where Prophet David faced a giant. The Mongol general Kitbuka commanded 20,000 men. When he saw a small Mamluk vanguard break rank and start running away under a rain of arrows, he ordered a full pursuit. He assumed the Egyptian soldiers were terrified. But the retreat was a highly disciplined trap, commanded by Baibars. He slowly pulled his men backward, baiting the fast-moving Mongol cavalry straight into the middle of the valley, where the hills pinched tightly together. As soon as the last Mongol soldier entered the bottleneck, thousands of Mamluk soldiers poured out from behind the hills. War drums echoed. Genghis Khan's signature tactic, the feigned retreat, was snapping shut on his own descendants. Surrounded on all sides, the Mongols found themselves caught in a kill zone. For the first time in their history, the world's most feared hunters were the prey. But the Mongols didn't panic. Kitbuka quickly reorganized his cavalry and slammed into the Mamluk left wing with such force that the Egyptian lines began to break. The trap was collapsing. Watching his army scatter, Qutuz realized everything was about to end. He tore off his iron helmet and violently slammed it into the dirt so his wavering soldiers could clearly see his face. Waving his bare sword, he screamed, "Wa Islama! Oh my Islam!" and charged entirely alone directly into the Mongol front line. Seeing their sultan throw himself into certain death, the fleeing Mamluks stopped in their tracks. They immediately turned around, loudly chanting Allahu Akbar, and launched a massive, earth-shaking final cavalry assault alongside him. The Mongol forces were cut down. Kitbuka fought until his horse was killed. He was captured and executed right there on the battlefield. The supernatural myth of Mongol invincibility was permanently shattered by a slave king. Qutuz never got to celebrate. Before he even reached Cairo to reclaim his throne, he went out hunting and was assassinated by his own men, a plot most historians point directly to his rival, Baibars. Baibars took power, and in a strange twist of history, he didn't ruin the empire. He ruled for 17 years, pushing the Mongols back across the Euphrates and building a golden age for the Mamluks. Yet a massive threat remained. Hulagu Khan was still alive, and when he heard his army had been destroyed, he swore to turn the Nile red with blood. He had the manpower to do it. Then a lifeline came from the most unlikely place imaginable. Berke Khan, the ruler of the Mongol Golden Horde, was a recent convert to Islam. Furious over the destruction of Baghdad, Berke declared war on his own cousin, Hulagu. This massive civil war on the banks of the Tigris River permanently fractured the Mongol Empire. Hulagu was forced to divert his forces and was decisively beaten, ensuring he never had the strength to threaten Egypt or the Holy Lands again. Imagine if Qutuz and Baibars had looked at the odds on September 3, 1260, and chosen to surrender. Cairo would have burned. The guardians of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem would have been erased from history. Today, it's easy to look at insurmountable problems and feel weak, waiting for some miracle to arrive. But the Battle of Ain Jalut shows that nations aren't saved by resources alone. They are saved by strategic, uncompromising defiance. You can accept a life of quiet submission, or you can choose the brief, courageous path of someone like Qutuz, who refused to bow. History does not record the excuses of cowards. It only remembers the decisions of the brave.